And leading this event. Thank you, Mr. President, also for being part of this debate. Your question is one that's being asked by college kids all over this country. I was in Pennsylvania with someone who just graduated. This was in Philadelphia, and she said, I've got my degree, I can't find a job. I've got 3 part-time jobs. They're just barely enough to pay for my food and pay for an apartment. I can't begin to pay back my student loans. So what we have to do is 2 things. We have to make sure that we make it easier for kids to afford college, and also make sure that when they get out of college, there's a job. When I was governor of Massachusetts, to get a high school degree, you had to pass an exam. If you graduated in the top quarter of your class, we gave you a John and Abigail Adams scholarship, 4 years tuition free to the college of your choice.
All right, we just watched the second debate between Governor Romney and President Obama. Just wanted to get some opinions from you on the debate itself, and then we'll talk a little bit about the upcoming election. What did you think about the debate?
I think the debate was a good debate. I think Obama did a great job with the debate. I think that, as a African American that we never had in the presidency for hundreds and hundreds of years, and also a president that came from ground roots like a lot of us.
It's critical, not just to you, but to the entire nation. Now, the most important thing we can do is to make sure that we are creating jobs in this country, but not just jobs, good paying jobs, ones that can support a family. And what I want to do is build on the 5 million jobs that we've created over the last 30 months in the private sector alone. And there are a bunch of things that we can do to make sure your future is bright. Number 1, I want to build manufacturing jobs in this country again. You know, when Governor Romney said we should let Detroit go bankrupt, I said we're going to bet on American workers and the American auto industry, and it's come surging back. I want to do that in industries, not just in Detroit, but all across the country. And that means we change our tax code, so we're giving incentives to companies that are investing here in the United States and creating jobs here. It also means we're helping them and small businesses to export all around the world.
It's going to make a difference in the economy. Not a guy that came from wealth, but a guy that's building wealth for him, his family, and in the nation, the United States. And I think it's been time that the time has come where we need that type of president. And then that president understands the struggle of us Americans who hadn't had the opportunity.
So how much did you cut by then?
Governor, we have actually produced more oil.
No. How much did you cut licenses and permits on federal land and federal waters?
Governor Romney, here's what we did. There were a whole bunch of oil companies.
I had a question, and the question was, how much did you cut them by?
You want me to answer?
How much did you cut them by?
I'm happy to answer the question.
All right, and it is?
Here's what happened. You had a whole bunch of oil companies who had leases on public lands that they weren't using. So what we said was, you can't just sit on this for 10, 20, 30 years. Decide when you want to drill, when you want to produce, when it's most profitable for you. These are public lands. So if you want to drill on public lands, you use it or you lose it.
Okay.
And so what we did was take away those leases, and we are now reletting them so that we can actually make a profit.
And production on government land is down. Production on government land of oil is down 14%. And production on gas is down 9%.
It's just not true.
It's absolutely true. Look, there's no question, but people recognize that we have not produced more oil and gas on federal lands and in federal waters. And coal production is not up. Coal jobs are not up. I was just at a coal facility where some 1,200 people lost their jobs. The right course for America is to have a true all-of-the-above policy. I don't think anyone really believes that you're a person who's going to be pushing for oil and gas and coal. You'll get your chance in a moment. I'm still speaking. And the answer is, I don't believe people think that's
So he understands what it takes to build wealth in economic times like this.
And you're saying that partly because he really didn't start out with much.
Didn't start out with much at all. Started out from ground roots, like me as a business owner. I'm a business owner. I started out with ground roots, my own money, my own hard work, my own sweat to get to where I am 21 years later. We've never had a presidency like this. And I'm not saying it because he's African American. I'm just saying whoever. I think the economy can only benefit from someone at that level.
About 2 months later, this young man and his mom showed up, and he looked unbelievable. Good as new. But there were a lot of families who didn't have that good fortune, and whose sons or daughters or husbands didn't survive. So my belief is that, A, we have to enforce the laws we've already got, make sure that we're keeping guns out of the hands of criminals, those who are mentally ill. We've done a much better job in terms of background checks, but we've got more to do when it comes to enforcement. But I also share your belief that weapons that were designed for soldiers in war theaters don't belong on our streets. And so what I'm trying to do is to get a broader conversation about how do we reduce the violence generally. Part of it is seeing if we can get an assault weapons ban reintroduced, but part of it is also looking at other sources of the violence. Because frankly, in my hometown of Chicago, there's an awful lot of violence, and they're not using AK-47s, they're using cheap handguns.
Now, last question is, in terms of our responsibility as voters, our responsibility as citizens, what can we do to help strengthen the next presidency, and what can we do individually and collectively to strengthen our communities in general and our nation as a whole?
Well, first of all, I'm going to speak from an African American business. I think we need to work together as African Americans. I think we need to find ways to empower each other instead of be like crabs in a barrel and pull each other down. Strength in numbers. Growth is in numbers. So as African Americans, we need to learn how to work together and to build together. Utilize our strengths, because we're the most dominant force on the earth. But we need to find ways to work together instead of working against each other. Like you see a lot of these foreign countries, their folks stick together, they work together. They can live 5, 6 people to a house. Put African Americans together, we can't live 2 in a household. But we expect to gain and grow wealth amongst ourselves. Let's get together, let's join together, and let's work together to build this nation and this country and build ourselves as African Americans.